Welcome to the first episode of Forza Juventus podcast. I'm Enrique Ortega,
I'm Anthony Savali.
and we are so excited to start this podcast. First off, let's say how we are a fan of this amazing club, the most historic club in Italy, the biggest club in Italy, one of the biggest clubs ever. Um, why don't you go first, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I started about 20 years ago. I grew up playing hockey and racing, so it was hard for me to get into. I did play soccer my whole life, but it was always, I played soccer. I wasn't a European football fan. But my brother got me into it when I was about 20 years old, and that was way back in 2003. So um, I'm trying to pick my teams. Being a big fan of F1, Juventus was a natural fit for me, but also I love tough, gritty defensive teams, and it was too perfect to not choose Juve. So I've been a fan since '03. Um, definitely fell out of love with the way they've been doing business lately, but I'm sure we'll be getting into that.
That's the hope, at least for
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I was born in 2000, so my very first soccer
Not
jersey that I
Juve.
got, my first soccer jersey I got was in 2006, and it was the Juventus jersey. And always growing up, my favorite colors were black and white, and so I fell in love with the jersey. I fell in love with the Italian national team in 2006. That was my first earliest memory of watching a soccer game, was that during that World Cup. And so Juventus was just my team from that point on. Have loved them ever since, followed them ever since. I've been with the Forza Juventus Twitter account since 2022. Funny enough, I was in college and reached out to if I could help out in a way, and I started writing articles for them. And now I do the game day commentary for all the games that I can possibly do, and getting ready for the Club World Cup. But speaking of games, let's talk about this season.
Oh
First,
boy,
first off, let's get an initial reaction. How do you think this season went?
exactly how I thought it would go. That's
You
the
think
reason
so?
the reason I started an X account, and it was about a year or so ago. And I was not a fan of Jim. I didn't want him here. Based on I don't like the way he did business. I knew what he was going to do to this club, and he was worse than I even thought he was going to be. And I needed to get on there and start mouthing off about it. So it was just like I thought it would be. I thought we'd be just decent enough because we spent enough money. I mean, if we would have exercised all of our loan options, we'd have been up to almost 300 million. So if we spend that kind of money, we got to at least hit top four, and that was just, I mean, that to me is forfeit when we spend that kind of cash, especially since I thought we were in a decent place when he came into the club.
I think I had high expectations considering that Allegri should have never come back. As much as I think of he's a great coach, he did what he did for us in his first stint at the club. The second one was awful. And yes, it wasn't his fault that we got the ban or the point deduction. Um, he steered the ship as best he could, but it was dreadful football. It was hard to watch. So Thiago Mata, I thought, was the next step. I was like, all right, attracting football is coming. We're going to get a different system. Players like Kenan Yildiz is going to shine. Dusan Vlahovic is maybe going to become the player we expected him to be when we bought him from Fiorentina for 90 million. So what happened was not that. I think we had the early glimpses with the first win of the season, when we were all surprised and Bangula starting and scoring against Como. We were like, okay, this manager is trusting our young players, something that the fans have been wanting for years, for young players to be able to join. But it was kind of started off rocky with Dean Huyson being sent away. So did we really have trust of the young players, or did it was just a money thing? It was a tough
Yeah,
start, but the early signs were there. It was something promising. The Leipzig game, for Conceição to score the winner, beating Man City after having those draws. So the draws and the wins, we were undefeated. I think a lot of people forget about that. We were
mm-hmm.
undefeated for the first half of the season outside of the Champions League. And there was something promising. It was just something that needed to be fixed, but the draws kept happening. And I think that's when the cracks started showing. That was there going to be a way to get over this hill, or are we just going to keep getting a draw and an occasional win here and there?
Yeah. I mean, I was not a fan of Mota. I didn't buy into the 2-7-2. I didn't think he was going to be some modern coach. I knew he was defensive minded, which I do like, so I didn't hate him. But he's a young coach The biggest problem I had was I did not like the players we signed at all. I thought for a young coach, especially the Coop Miners and Luis signing. Luis is a good player. Jury's out on Coop Miners. I've never been a big fan. I think he's unathletic. But if he's supposed to be our attacking midfielder and be the talisman of the team, that's just not what he is. He can't be the focal point. And he was brought in to be that, and that was always going to be a problem. We spent so much money on the midfield, and we really didn't need all that reinforcement. We had no backups for center backs. I mean, in my mind, Kalulu was brought in as the right back. So that means we started the season with only two natural center backs, Agati and Bremer. We shipped off Lugani. I mean, there's always going to be a problem back there. And then the striking core was, I mean, you have only Vlahovic. Yeah, he was decent on Fiorentina, but he's never done anything here really that's really impressed me. So I had my concerns. I was also really pissed. The thing that really got me super pissed was the Ravella thing. So that was year one, getting rid of Ravella. Excited. I'm a real big fan of Ravella. I think he's an excellent player. And then it just, then there was Heiss, and then there was Soule. But I also think those two guys are super talented. I mean, I think you can see those from a mile away. So yeah, we started out the season, and Malta did not do a terrible job coaching. I think it's a little bit exaggerated, but he also did help Giuntoli piss everybody off. So that's where I think he really went wrong.
I think that's exactly what it is. It went in tandem. It was Mata and Giuntoli. They were working hand in hand together. What Mata said is what Giuntoli was ordered to do. What at the end
Well,
of the
vice
day,
versa.
exactly. So it was to get funds, and we had it was something that we were missing for years. The year before this, we bought one player. It
Yeah,
was Timothy Weah.
Giuntoli.
One player. That's all we could get.
Yeah,
And then I think we got Thiago Gel to end the season, which he barely played, and then Carlos
and
Alcaraz, who came in
Alcatraz.
on loan. Yep. So that's who we got. So when we had this summer of Thiago Motta and Giuntoli partnering, it's like, wow, we're going for big names. We were all disappointed Calafiore couldn't come. We needed a center back. We needed a big center back to bolster our team. We didn't get him. Then we tried to get Todibo. We were this close to getting him. Then he said, no, I'm going to go to West Ham. Okay, now we're trying to just throw names out in the market. Landed on Kalulu. Everybody was upset, but he did a great job. I think
I
Kalulu.
disagree. We're gonna get into
You,
that, I'm sure. Yeah.
you
No.
disagree. I, I,
Yeah.
I, I think Kalulu did exactly what he needed to do. He came in with low expectations and ended the season, in my opinion, as one of the top performers of the season before that red card. But I think that for the price we got him, stealing him from Milan, it was a bargain and something to look forward to. He's still young. He's still very young, has a chance. And I think when we get Bremer back, we get Cabal back. If we happen to get a center back this summer, he will be playing back in his natural position, more on the right side. So I think there's promise to Kalulu on top of already having a good season.
Yeah, I think he's been responsible for tons of goals. I think he's a positional liability. But I will say this: he was brought in for cheap. He did have low expectations. He is young. Can he get better? I don't know. The IQ test is something you can't improve that. But in the modern game, it's not like there's a lot of great defenders out there anyway. So he's serviceable. He's athletic. He's fast. Um, he's had his moments, but no, I'm not a fan. And for me, when you're bringing in a player like that, I'm the primo culture guy, by the way. And so when we started that podcast and that Twitter site, Twitter account, it's all about bringing Italian players to Juventus and bringing that core back. And that's not an act. That's my true belief, and that's what I wanted to see Giuntoli do. That's what I want to see him do this summer. I think that the problem we've had for years now is we've abandoned that philosophy. We've abandoned our integrity as a club, and we're just trying to sign names because they are exciting and they do give you hope, but it hasn't worked out. And I don't think Italian teams can spend the way the other leagues can spend, especially the EPL. And so you got to build from within. And I give an example of like Barcelona. They definitely built from within, and it's working.
I think that what has been impressive of Juventus in the past years is the focus on the academy. The academy, again, I said earlier, fans for years wanted young talents. A lot of Italian teams in general don't trust the young Italians, the young talents they have at their club, rather send them to Serie C, Serie B, and then never step foot in senior football again. And that's how careers die. So we finally have an academy that honestly, in my opinion, they're a top 15 academy in the world.
Well, who do
We're
we have
pretty.
now? Didn't we offload half of our brightest and best?
I think there's still potential. I mean, Yildiz wasn't necessarily born and bred in our academy.
No,
We
he's
got him
not.
from the
Yeah.
Bayern Academy. Hoyson was from the Malaga Academy. Sule was ours. Came from Argentina though at a older age, but still we have talents. And Bangula most likely will probably be shipped.
Yep.
Savona, we'll see what happens with him. But we have names. We're getting talents. I think there's promise to the academy, regardless if we sell them or keep them. There's promise of the talent we're getting, whether they raise us funds or they help us in the first team. But I want to get back just a bit of the end of the season. So we talked about the first half. It was a mixed bag. Then the losses started coming in, the cracks were deepening, and then Thiago Motta had to go. 2 back-to-back historic defeats, and there was no more. They thought they're like, okay, I remember it was the Fiorentina game, international break. That international break was, are we going to keep Motta? It sounded like at the time he had a couple games to maybe figure things out, change up his formation, change his tactics. But then they're like, no, never mind, you're gone. Tudor's coming in, and Tudor is not my favorite coach, but he steered the ship right, made it okay, gave us top 4. We'll see what he does at the Club World Cup, but what happens with him is kind of a mixed bag because I think Juventus are looking for a new coach, and as much as we saw what happened with Conte and Gasperini, the embarrassment that we faced as a club is we're kind of out of options. All the good coaches are taken. All going after names like Marco Silva from Fulham. It's not who we are. So at this point, we're kind of stuck with Tudor until maybe a name is available. But that is where we're at. And I think for the season that we had, it was a 5, 6 out of 10, given the money we spent, the coach we had, and all the expectations going into this, especially after leaving Allegri and winning. At least we won a trophy last season. We lost to an Empoli team, an Empoli C team. So there was too many things wrong with this season, given the money we spent. And I think going into the Club World Cup, we'll see true Igor Tudor, what he's going to do with his club if he wants to stay a manager.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because before those 2 historic losses, I remember people going absolutely ballistic, thinking we were going to win the Scudetto. So how quick? What's the saying? Oh, the turntables. Quick the tables turn. Yeah, but he needed to go. The problem with Mota was that he lost the faith of the players. I think that
It was
through
obvious
all,
too.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always John on the sidelines and stuff in any sport you play. I mean, that's overrated by the fans. I mean, that shit's going to happen. That's just boys being boys. Yeah, they weren't playing for him. There was a lot of stuff leaking out that eventually got out. But yeah, once he lost the locker room, it was time to go. And then yeah, Tudor came in and kind of crash landed us on the. We did make it to dry land, but man, it was an ugly landing. The ship's broken. We have to do some repair now, but. Um, I'm not super happy about it. I'm a big Conte fan, huge Conte fan. That's my guy. I don't know why would you come here if you're Conte. I mean, yeah, love of the club, that's great and everything. That's save that for the movies. But in real life, you got to do what's best for your career, your family, and it's definitely better to stay in Napoli. I mean, Mana's been really good with them. ADL promised him the world. We're at the time we didn't even have a president. We don't have a sporting director. I mean, it's a mess. So we still don't have a sporting director, right? I mean,
Yeah, we got Damian Comoli now coming in. We'll see what
president.
he does. He's not the sporting director though. They're
Uh,
looking for a sporting director. Giorgio Chiellini is now in a higher position, working under Comoli. So we'll see what happens. Right
yeah,
now, it's a mess. There's no
messy.
sugarcoating it. It's a mess right now.
Who
And
fixes
so
it? Comoli? You think he fixes it?
I think it's a new approach that hasn't been seen at Juventus, a data-driven approach, somebody
Oh,
who's going to crank the numbers and see. We'll see. In sports like basketball, data is big, and baseball, data is big. But in soccer, I feel like it's big, but there's a big difference with those sports. And so we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful something good, but right now I think we as Juventus fans are a bit defeated. We've tried and tried and tried, and ever since our last Scudetto win, it's been failures, it's been disappointments, it's been the FIGC messing with us, the Italian
Yeah.
Federation messing with us, UEFA messing with us. And so now it felt like last season with Mata and starting, this felt like a ground zero, new start. And now we're back again to, well, where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, it's are we going to finally rebuild properly, or are we just going to try to throw a bunch of money at stuff and pick some hot names and put in our man buns? I mean, the Juventus way is a way that works, and I know it's old fashioned or whatever the British media wants to say it is, but you can still win games playing the way that we're supposed to play. I want that Juve DNA back, and no, that doesn't mean a grimace. That doesn't mean yelling on the sideline. What that means is building an Italian core with our national players. You don't. I don't want to have some young team, but we do need to bring our guys through our system, get our young guys on the field, bring in some good journeyman, blue collar Italian players to fill the gaps. There's no reason to spend $15 million on a sub average to average player that's not Italian. That's not the way. You're not getting a better player there. You're getting the same player, and what was it called that they had in place with the tax breaks or whatever? That's not in place anymore. So there's no benefit to
The,
it.
the
So
growth decree.
yeah, the growth decree's been gone. So I know a lot of teams are still doing it, but I want to see us actually rebuild, take a take a step back. I mean, we had Tudor. No one has big expectations this year with Tudor. I think that is actually an advantage. I certainly don't have big expectations with Tudor. That's fine. We got a whole new management coming in. Caretaker coach that's going to have a full time job. Maybe I take a step back, get rid of all the trash, clean up, get some people in here who want to play, who understand the club, who aren't going to go run away for a better deal, like that kind of thing. And then year after year, add pieces to the puzzle that are actual class pieces, like other clubs do. And there you go.
So to kind of wrap up the season we had, I want to talk about the best and the worst players of this season. So I'll start off with who I thought my best players this season were. And my MVP this season is Kefren Turam. People who know me, people who've seen my Twitter, they know Kefren Turam is my guy. I've been wanting him for years, and I think he is the embodiment of what Juventus is. His dad, legend of the club. Yes, he's French. Yes, he's not Italian, but he knows the club. He loves putting on this shirt, and he did his best for this club. You can tell the last game where we almost choked getting that top four. He was hurt. Him and Yildiz were hurt. He was there, sprinted, doing everything he can to make sure we got that win. So for him, he's my MVP this season. But on top of that, I thought Locatelli, Yildiz, Kalulu, Di Gregorio, and I'll give it up as well as honorable mentions for Renato Vega and Randall Colomuani. They helped us push through. I think, honestly, if Renato Vega was fit in that PSV game, we make it through. I don't think we beat Arsenal in the next round, but we definitely beat PSV with Renato Vega just because we were so thin on injuries and especially losing another center back. It was just bound to happen. And so those are my guys, my top this season, and those get. And Vega's gone. Sadly, I was hoping they would find a deal to at least keep him. Seems like Randall Colomani is staying for the World Cup or the Club World Cup. We'll see what happens then. But those guys I listed are all who I'm happy with staying, and I'd love to keep at the club.
Yes, I think for me, if I had to rate the season 1 through 10, I'd give it a 1 because if it was any good, we wouldn't have been firing everybody. But I don't think there's that many players that I would say had a great season. But I was very impressed with Locatelli. Yeah, he had some stinker games and made some real bomb plays. But I mean, I don't have a big expectation for Locatelli. He's not a regista, doesn't move the ball well. But man, he was. I mean, he tackled great. He stepped up when he had to. I guess he showed some leadership too. I think he is probably our player this season just based on consistency. I love the Turam shout. That's a player that I've been wanting us to bring in for at least a year or so now. I think he fits into the Juve values in terms of work ethic, work rate, that kind of thing. And he definitely showed that he doesn't. He's not a bitch. He goes out there and he'll play when the going gets tough. And that's why when you go to your Moneyball thing, with Como and stuff like that, teams in other sports that do that don't necessarily win. And I think in European football, more than any other sport, it's about those clutch key moments. So Napoli won this year because they had Scott McTominay and Lukaku, who just did a phenomenal job, but it mattered the most, especially McTominay. He was phenomenal. But Conte can identify those character guys because it takes one to know one. Who in our management, our leadership structure, has that eye for uh, you know clutch players? So I think that Locatelli maybe my player of the year, Thuram a close second, and I think Gatti did do. He was super consistent best there in defense. He had his moments. He's Gatti, but I thought he was our best defender.
I think Gatti took a big leap this season. I was never a huge fan on him. I thought he was solid, but showed a lot of cracks, especially last season.
Definitely has cracks.
But I think he took a step up. As it shows, there's interest with him from clubs from the Premier League and Napoli. So he definitely took a step up. I don't mind keeping him at the club. I like his game. He's that gritty defender. But he needs to improve again. He needs to take another step before he's getting those shouts as one of the top defenders in the league. One of the top defenders of Juventus. But then again, our only top defender in the league is Bremer. Yeah. He's the best. In my opinion, he's a top 2-3 defender in the world. So with him back, it'll help a lot. But that kind of leads me into our worst players this season. I want to hear your take first. Who I have my sayings, but I'd love to hear. I'm sure we agree on a few of them.
Yeah, I can keep it to 3 because I could name the whole team really. I think the biggest disappointment was Coop Miners, just because of which to me that was I saw that coming a mile away. But for whatever reason, we gave him 60 million, and it's not about how much cash we paid. Truly isn't. I don't even care if we would have bought him for 20. He's not the right guy for the job. Couple mitigating factors for signings: athleticism, technique, price. I mean, he's a slow, gumpy person. I mean, I don't know if I want him on my team ever. And he just wasn't right for the job. He failed miserably, and he had chance after chance after chance, even getting an undeserved armband for a man. That was ridiculous. Douglas Luiz, I mean, those are the obvious ones. Right? Douglas Luiz was an absolute freaking disaster. And then I'm going to give it, and I like this player a lot, and I think that in a better system and better coaching, but just to make the conversation interesting, I'm going to say Cambiaso, because I think once his link came in with Manchester City, he just hollowed out. He became horrible, which I think he was on a really good run from the previous year into this season, and then he just fell on his face, and maybe he never recovered correctly from the injury. Who knows? But I mean, come on, we've all been injured and played stuff. It's not that big of a deal. You don't just forget where to stand on the field.
Yeah, I totally agree. Coop Miner's big disappointment. 60 million. You can't do what you did for the season, taking horrible shots, terrible decision making, open opportunities right in front of goal, hitting the post. It was unexcusable. It was a terrible season. I actually had kind of big expectations for Douglas Luiz. I liked his game in the Prem. I think a lot of people are nervous about Brazilians joining Juventus, considering the past. I think the last decent one we had was Douglas Costa, and it's not like he was fantastic. It's just he was a pacey winger, and he showed his skills, but he was always injured. I think we went from Artur to Douglas Luiz, and there was no difference. I think Artur was a bit worse because we spent more money on that. But I'm hoping, honestly, I'm hoping Douglas Luiz can find some form in the Club World Cup, whether we sell him or not. If he can get some form back and maybe prove valuable to this team, I wouldn't mind keeping him. But I think I'm in the minority. I think most fans of our club are Douglas Luiz out.
If you put him with the right people, I think that the problem is he's slow and he's lazy, but he definitely has. I think at the time he was on the field, he showed more technique than Coop Miners did than all the minutes he got. I think if you have him surrounded by, in a 3-man midfield with 2 workhorses next to him, that's his best chance for success. Problem is, we just had absolutely zero creativity, and that wasn't. I know people disagree with us, but that wasn't a Mota issue. I'm not a Mota fan, so I'm not. Mota had the team in the right setup, and when it gets into that final third and teams are turtling up in their own box, you need to have those good players that can make those plays. We've never had those guys. I think he's one of the few that could probably do it, and I'm not a fan of him. I don't think we should keep him, but if we did, I think he could come good. I do if he
I,
was in the right setup.
I agree. I totally agree. That's why it's hard for me to put him on the disappointment. But you play 3 games all season, like you're not going to make the honorable mention of being a
What was
good
up with
player.
that? 3 games?
I think it was more than that, but man,
Yeah.
those injuries were just.
Well, he played like no. There's no reason he should have got that little playing time though. Something was happening behind the scenes we don't know about.
I agree because even when fit with Igor Tudor, he wasn't
Yeah,
getting playing time. So I think I think at the end of the day, what Igor Tudor was playing Thuram and Locatelli, those were solid. They were doing the job. You can't replace it, especially vying for top four. You can't change tactics. You have to stick with those guys who are doing the job. And I honestly think that's what kind of impeded Douglas Luiz from getting any more time. But again, there could have been something from behind the scenes going on. But my other players that I have for the worst players of the season, Nico Gonzalez. Absolutely cannot stand him. I didn't want him from Fiorentina. I thought it was a big waste of money. Never thought he was good. Um, and it showed on the field. He scored some goals. Some were fun to celebrate. But at the end of the day, he was horrible to watch.
with that fifth goal in the blowout game already, that was a
Yeah,
big exciting goal. Big
it,
deal, dude. Yeah.
it was just a hard watch.
Mm-hmm.
All the commentators every time I watch saying, "Oh, he's a workhorse that does nothing." At the end of the day, he's just running
That's a bare
cardio out there.
minimum. He should be a
Yeah,
worker.
that's his job.
That's a
So
job. Yeah.
it was such a terrible watch. And my last two are in the striking position. Eric Milik should be gone. He shouldn't even have been at this club this year. Shouldn't have been at the club last year. Horrible player. Because of the fitness issues, I don't think he's actually a terrible striker. But the best ability is availability, and when you're not there, you need to leave the club. I can't believe we extended him. Huge disappointment. We didn't see him for 1 second on anything. So Eric Milik, I'm ready to say go, please, never look back. And my last player is Vlahovic.
Oh,
I think he had such high expectations. We finally got rid of the dinosaur defensive.
yeah, it was all his fault. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Allegri is the issue. He can't score because of Allegri. Well, okay, we bring in a guy who has a little more flair to him, who can give. I mean, Xerxes was scoring under Thiago Motta. They had
He
players
wasn't. He
were
didn't have
scoring.
that many goals. Xerxes didn't have that many goals.
He was probably doing better than Vlahovic this year.
It was like 11. You know?
My biggest issue with Vlahovic is that he cries. He's such a whiner.
Oh,
If he gets breathed on, he'll fall and then scream at the ref and pout
that's
and
just
hit the floor.
Vlahovic? That's just footballers in general.
Yeah, but in our club, that's Vlahovic. This
Yeah.
guy just doesn't know how to shut up and just play. And I just think he had so many opportunities. I was happy for some of the goals, absolutely. I always celebrate my team when they score. But man, it was just a disappointment, especially given the circumstance we were in, the change we were going forward with, and he just decided to stay the same and not do much. Again, we were injured most of the season. So many of our players had injuries, but at the end of the day, like when you're on the field, you got to give it your all. I'm not trying to see 30% effort when the ball is at your feet and you're in front of goal and can't even score that. So those are my biggest disappointments this season. And I'm just hoping something changes because I like we've been saying, what is next? We don't know.
I mean, we're what a week away from the Club World Cup, and we still don't have a sporting director. Other teams are making deals, selling things in. We have no clue what's happening.
And I think that's the problem, especially because we're in the special transfer period for the Club World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't even get a free agent. We can't even get a name linked to us that we're maybe in talks with because of the background issues, because we don't have a sporting director, all the changes. So we're kind of wasting this special period. Yeah, sure, whatever. If we're saving money, we're saving money. But this is a chance. We had a whole season. We saw the players that didn't perform. We saw where we needed. Renato Vega gone. Okay, I'm glad Rugani's back. I think he's solid. But we're still missing Bremer. We're still missing Cabal. So we still need center back depth. And
Yeah.
we're still not getting that in this small period where maybe we can get a small name just to help us out. Just to because I think what people are forgetting, the Club World Cup, the pot is like $1 billion.
No.
There is
Really?
money. There is money in this cup that we have to at least perform well. I'm not expecting us to win it, not even close. I'm hoping we
What
do
do you get for the quarterfinals?
but
What do you get for the quarterfinals? Do you know how much cash we get for the quarterfinals?
I don't,
We got to Google this. We got to Google this. I didn't
but
know there was that much money at play.
yeah,
I just thought it was a stupid cup.
yeah, there's money at play and money
Oh,
that
okay.
funds the club, funds transfer market. So that's what I'm saying. This
Oh, okay.
this isn't something to slack at. I'm sure some players don't want to be there, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
But there's a bit more at stake for us now because top four is it's not even that much money compared to other leagues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So an opportunity to at least raise some funds, get something, and we're kind of taking a back seat. So I kind of want to transition to the mercato. Who are you hoping that at least let's just say three positions and who maybe you'd want to see?
Well, I want to see Italian players brought in. So that in general, I think that I know there's a lot of links to Tonali. I like Tonali; he's an excellent player, but we got to stop spending this kind of money on players. We just, especially in positions we already have covered right now. So just being as practical as possible. We need center backs. We need strikers. I think we have guys who can fill in a wing back for now. That's fine. But we blew a lot of cash last year, and we have a lot of bloat on the roster that's pretty much unusable bloat. And we're going to trot them out there because they're a warm body. But I think we need center backs big time. I don't like our three man defense. You know, if we bring back Rugani, Bremer, and Gatti, that defense worked last year or 2 years ago under Allegri. It did. But he's behind him. Okay, Savona, Kalulu, maybe we're okay. I don't like Kalulu. I don't think Rugani's going to get injured again. Who knows how good Bremer's going to be at? And it's a pretty big injury. He's a bigger dude. That usually doesn't bode well for those guys. I'd like to see a youngster brought in just to fill in there. I don't think we need to spend a lot of money there. Leone, Coppola. I like Marinucci, but he's gone. Camuzzo. Either one of those guys is fine. But if you're gonna bring a guy in like that, then you already have Savona. You got to play him. But we really, really, really need strikers. We're desperate for him. I don't think Colomani is that good of a player. I think that he at least can put the ball in the net sometimes, but his movement's terrible. He has no positional sense whatsoever. So I mean, if we can keep him on a loan deal or negotiate, and this is a crazy word because we haven't ever since Houston's been here, we haven't heard about negotiation. We just buy at face value and sell as cheap as possible. So if we can actually negotiate a good rate for the attackers, Colo, and I think we're still negotiating for what Chico. If we can actually get them for good prices, then yeah, you keep them. But to be honest, they can both go. But we need attackers. We severely lacking that in that department.
I think that's where my focus is this offseason is Vlahovic didn't work.
Yeah,
It's time to go. We'll get some money back from that. But I think in the area you have to spend big, it has to be the striking position.
yeah,
It's a no-brainer right now. The names we've been linked with, Osimhen, he declined Al Hilal today. Gyökeres from Sporting, who's had an amazing season. That's a name we've been linked with.
yeah.
But
But you're not going to get those guys. I mean, they're going to be so much money, and the EPL is going to give them a better salary. Like I don't think we get those guys anymore. Like what's the deal with like Guarassi or whatever from was he on Dortmund this year? He just moved there this year.
yeah,
Guys like that, like those guys just put the ball in the net reliably. Big body knows how to target man. Those are the kind of players I like to see us bring in for right now. And then we got to get the club back where it needs to be before we can go get those Jokeris guys. I don't think we can. I don't think those guys are going to come here. I don't.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, money talks, so we'll see what happens. I'd love to get a big name. I thought maybe Jonathan David was going to be the free agent signing we'd get going into the Club World Cup, but that doesn't seem like that's happening either. I mean,
Shocker.
free free. He's a Bozeman signing. He would have come. What we would have had to pay was salary, bonuses, and commissions. But I guess we still can't even do that. So we're in another point now where we're going to see top strikers slipping away, and we're going to have to maybe get Retegui, who I wouldn't be upset about at
I like the
all.
tagging, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a good player, but there's players available, and we shouldn't just be going for, oh, we missed out on him. Let's just go for plan
Well,
B.
that's gonna
And
be how it is because
that
I like Retegui. He's Italian, but he's not my. It wouldn't be my number one choice. He does fade out of games. He doesn't take the bull by the horns kind of guy. He has his games, but there's too many games where he just like you're like playing with 10 men.
yeah, I think we're in a tough position again. We're just I don't know if the Tonali track is going to work out. The only way we'd be able to get him is if we swap with Douglas Luiz and give some more
That I like.
money. I that's been the rumors. Again, who knows how true they are? Italian media is Italian media. Uh,
I don't
um,
think it's gonna happen. Yeah.
yeah, at the end of the day, the team we see now might be the team we see next season, and
Yeah.
that's that's the worry right now.
Well, you're more plugged into the transfers than I am. So I mean, who have been the besides David and Joe? Because I think those are like FIFA, FC 25 signings. Who have been like the guys you actually think that we do have a shot at getting now? Who's our
I've
plan D, E, and F?
I've seen right now Miguel Gutierrez of Girona and La Liga. He's been a track that's been following for over a month now. We keep seeing. I'm not opposed to that. We need a fullback. I'm. I want to touch back just a bit on what you said about Cambiaso, who had a great first half of the season. City rumors come in, derails everything. And to be honest, even before the rumors, he gave up so many goals.
He did.
I remember the game against
The leg kick.
Lecce.
Yeah.
Yep, the no need to go push up the field at halfway, gives it up, goal, draw. And that's when it was like, Cambiaso, what are you doing? And then it just kind of didn't change. Um, one thing too, I've said this a bit. McKennie, I like the guy. Beginning of the season, mid-season, he's great. End of season, he's just not contributing. He's just running cardio, and it's been the same thing every year we've had him. Great start, great mid season, finishes terribly, and I'm not exactly sure what at this point what's the potential in him. There's really
There's
kind of
not.
nothing. That's it too. So it's we have so many of these players who have dropped off towards the tail end of the season. Guys like Locatelli, guys like Thuram, steadfast all season. There for us. Locatelli had his moments where he was bad. I especially remember that Atalanta game. He was the worst player on that pitch.
Yeah.
And so, but he took the captain's armband. He scored the goal to get us in the Champions League. That's a player I want on my team. And guys like Cambiaso whose head was gone, McKennie who tails off at the end. It's just so, again, I keep saying this, but it's the position we're in. It's tough. We don't know what is going to happen. And I think that the sporting director is not going to change much.
I agree with you. Honestly, I think with the deals that what's that idiot's name? Junta, what he did last year, I think it crippled us with like a few years at least of amortized debt. In order to get any money from these players, we're going to have to wait unless we're going to willing to sell them at a loss. We are stuck with this team we have. And the problem is when you were naming all those people just a few minutes ago, you were naming a bunch of average players. Absolutely none of those players, except for maybe Turan, would have been on our team back in the early 2010s and certainly not the mid 2000s. The level is so low, and we're trying to find bright spots because people want to be positive. I'm old. I don't need to be positive. I'm good. It's not looking good, especially when we're accepting a lower standard. Like the sad thing was we were all celebrating so much because we just made it in the top four. That's like that says everything about our club now. When Locatelli and what Trump's what 22, those are we're both saying those were our best players of the season. That's not a good look, man. Locatelli, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he shouldn't be a starter on a world class team. He shouldn't be. He's not. He's not what he is. He's like an Ambrosini to me. He's a guy you can put him in the midfield. He's going to do his thing. He's going to tackle some people. He's going to play hard, but he's not the big time skill player we need. He's not that world class talent, and I know the game's down in general. The modern game doesn't have those kind of world class talents anymore, but there are some, and he's not it.
Yeah, I think as tough it is to say, like we celebrated top four, our minimum objective, and yes, it's always big to be in the Champions League. Champions League's the biggest club competition. But what were we doing besides that? We were celebrating an Inter loss, and as fun as that was, that's the state we're in. We're celebrating other teams losing. We weren't celebrating Napoli beating Inter to the Scudetto, but we were happy that Inter lost. So we're at this stage now where we're celebrating mediocre wins. It's we
Yeah,
won, we got it, and so again, I hate to keep repeating it, but it's a bleak future right now until we get some clarity, until players start stepping up, living up to potential. I like the track that we went, going younger and building through that, but we need veterans as well. We need I as much as I don't like Eric Milik, we need guys who've had experience, who are in their late 20s, early 30s that can, like somebody like Kevin De Bruyne. Why weren't we going for to at
right.
least just to put
I
our
agree.
name in the ring to
Totally
have
agree.
Kevin De Bruyne? He might not be on his best legs anymore, but that's a guy with experience. Won a Champions League in the last few years. Is arguably one of the greatest midfielders in the Premier League and one of the best midfielders of all time as
He's a
well.
class player.
And
He's a true class player.
even Luka Modric, 39 years old, I would take him. He would start in a
Yeah.
heartbeat for our team. We didn't go for guys like that. So
No.
so it's just we're trusting guys who are who have the mentality of mediocrity right now, and that's disappointing to say, but there's very few. Yildiz won a trophy for Coppa Italia. Locatelli was there. Gatti was there. Bremer was there. Vlahovic was there. But that's immediate. As
I don't
much
give a shit
fun
about
as it
that
is,
trophy. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
all I care about is Champions League Scudetto. That's what
Yeah.
I want to see us win. And we needed a Coppa Italia victory because we had a mediocre season. We hadn't had a trophy in a while. We needed something that was good enough to get our hopes up. But now we were at that point of, all right, we're aiming higher again. We need Coppa Italia again and Scudetto and do
Mm-hmm.
well in the Champions League. Okay, knocked out of Champions League. That's tough. Knocked out of Coppa Italia on penalties for a C team, and then embarrass ourselves against Fiorentina and Atalanta
Yeah.
to have a Scudetto race and then end season. And now they get a few weeks to prepare for a Club World Cup where we're showing off our team on a global scale and our in a world competition. I just hope the best we do is not embarrass ourselves and do well.
I don't think we'll do that bad because I think that a lot of the bigger teams are going to run a lot of their back players through it. I think we're just going to, play a starters anyway. I when you were talking there, I was just thinking about our lack of, the future looks bleak. Why? Because when we brought Jim in, this is what one of my complaints with him that with his workmanship at Napoli is he doesn't build a team. He just shuffles players around. He just moves players in and out. And I won't say what the term I usually use, but it's okay. Well, I will. It's a prostitution. He just brings them in, brings them out, boom, 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 with no, just making money. You can't do that with Juventus. You have to actually build a team.
The one thing
There's
I'll give
no
Giuntoli
squad.
props on is he lowered the salary bill. That was his main job.
Oh.
We were screwed because of the Ronaldo deal. He made too much money.
What did he do to lower the bill? He sold Tognozzi's guys off, our best young players for cheapish. He did get a good deal on Slay, and then he let players retire. You could have done that.
But the thing is, that was his main thing, was the wage bill. We gave lower salaries. Think about it. With Paratici in charge, we were giving guys like Aaron Ramsey 8 million euros a season.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, unsustainable at the time. Right?
There we go.
But he's been gone, and those contracts were all coming to an end, one by one. So he just let them expire, which anybody would do. He had a set number when he was trying to do re-signing. Good. I don't give him any credit. I don't like that guy.
Well, he's
He
no
gets no
longer.
credit from me.
Yeah, he's no longer part of the club. We're
Exactly.
we're moving on. We'll see what happens with the next sporting
Does
director.
it look better to you?
Who knows? I
Sadly, it
guess.
doesn't.
But I kind of want to close out this episode with the Club World Cup.
Okay.
Our expectations. I mean, we play a mediocre competition in the group stage, except Man City. What are you just kind of hoping to see, especially now that Tudor is most likely going to remain in charge, and the players we have minus Vega and we got Kostic back and Rugani are now part of the squad, and Vega's gone. So, what are your expectations? What are you hoping to see, and everything with this tournament?
I have no expectations. I don't care how we do in this, but what I want to see is I want to see how he works the back line because I think Kelly's garbage. I wasn't a big Vega fan. I don't think he's that
I
good.
feel like that's the one thing we totally missed out on. But I
No,
think I think everybody
too easy,
knows. I
low
think
hanging fruit.
everybody knows Lloyd
Yeah,
Kelly is a terrible player.
yeah,
Nobody wanted him. It was a
no,
slap in the face because Dean Huyson, who was there for free as part of our
yeah,
academy, we sold him and paid the money that we got from him for a guy who's awful, who would never see a big
yeah,
club ever in his life. And I think there's way worse words that's said about him, but everybody knows he's
yeah.
easily the worst signing we've had, maybe ever.
It speaks volumes about Gianluigi's tenure here. It really does. And I don't even really equate Heisen and Kelly together because we sold Heisen long before we brought Kelly in. It just made it worse. But I mean, I I think in 5 seconds you could identify that Heisen was a special player. And we didn't bring in to me it was Kalulu that we brought in. So that's why maybe I've always been hard on Kalulu, but no, I want to see how he works that back line. I think our back line, and I think most back lines in world football in general are trash. But we did have Lugani, Bremer, and Gatti at one point playing extremely well. We were fighting for first in the league with Inter at the time. And yes, we had a much more pragmatic coach that understands the game a lot better than Tudor does. That helps. We had better players in the midfield in front of him, believe it or not. But those three guys have played well together, and I want to see how he shuffles Kalulu and Savona. Are those five enough to get us through next season? I'd like to see one young guy brought in, but I think that back line is going to be pretty solid. And then of course, what I did like about Tudor, I think the best thing is he did fit with Thuram looking solid. Those guys in the midfield were pretty
Yeah, I
decent.
think I think the minimum thing I want to see at the Club World Cup is one, just being able to win against the small teams, not having those wins during the season against small teams is
I can see
embarrassing.
it now.
But we're playing against clubs that are not even top 200 in the world
No,
besides Man City, and we beat Man City on a streak. At the time when we beat Man City, we were awful,
but we lost to Empoli C team.
and so we'll see what happens.
Uh,
But again, I'm just hoping we at least advance to the quarterfinal, hoping maybe semifinals, get some money, we'll showcase our talents, maybe buy Chico. But again, there's no expectations to win this trophy. If and I don't even blame the players if they don't want the trophy because they've already had a long season, they played too many games.
yeah.
But all I want to see is this club not embarrass themselves, and I think that's the least we
Yes.
can ask for them at this
That's a
moment.
good point. I want to see him not embarrass themselves. That would be great.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, this was a great first episode.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
really looking forward to continuing this. To all the Forza Juventus fans, we appreciate you tuning in. We are going to be doing this podcast weekly. So starting next week with the Club World Cup kicking off, we'll have commentary on the game itself. We'll keep talking about the Mercato rumors going on. Of course, we're getting to that season. Mercato rumors are night and day all the time,
Yeah.
refreshing the Twitter page and all that. But we'll get those to you weekly, and hopefully with the new season and everything coming in, we'll have good content and hopefully a team that makes us proud. So
Yeah.
thank you for tuning in, Anthony. Thank you for
Hey,
this
man.
first
It's been
episode and
fun.
getting it through.